Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Simply Selicia. I am doing my third BTS MV breakdown with Singularity. I am super excited about this. I love Singularity. It was my favorite BTS song last year, so I am excited to create the video version of this. Just so you know, all of these video breakdowns, they do contain spoilers for the BTS Save Me webtoon. We talk about the notes, we talk about other music videos, so if you are not caught up, you might want to stop now and come back later. Okay, let's just go ahead and jump into this. When I first watched and wrote about this song, the MVs that came to mind right away were Spring Day, the Japanese version of I Need You, Blood, Sweat and Tears, and Daydream. Right away, we are met with Taehyung surrounded by dancers. He's having an intimate moment that flips constantly between affection and aversion. Since the clothing on the rack belongs to a female, I assumed that this was a lover's quarrel. But it's even more interesting that this quarrel that Taehyung is having is ultimately acted out with just himself. We know that Tae's character has a lot of turmoil inside about his family life, but we also know from the album notes that he lost track of the girl that was always seen with him from the Love Yourself highlight reels, and he feels that they are both alone. This little detail in the choreography dancing with this rack stands for so many things in the storyline. I believe the clothing racks are mostly here to foreshadow what we might see as a continuation of the Love Yourself highlight reels. And since the Map of the Soul series essentially seems to be the end of the reflection of youth, we can only wait and see. I'd go as far to say that the backup dancers in this section are symbolic of the thoughts he keeps pushing down and the complications of repeating his storyline over and over while maintaining some level of memory in the form of his dreams. Here, we can see his shadow behind that screen that's almost like ice. Taehyung has been trapped or obscured from view various ways in BTS music videos. In his Wings trailer, he was actually put in prison, left to watch his innocence run away. In Blood, Sweat and Tears, he was covered by the veil before we see that he's lost his wings. Let's talk a bit about the color theory in this MV. A lot of the dancing scenes are covered in heavily saturated colors. We've seen many of these colors used the same way before as they work well together, but I'll explain that later. Our first heavily saturated frame is mostly red. The keywords that we tend to think when using red are anger, passion, power, love, and danger. The most dominant color here is yellow. The keywords that come forward to me for yellow are dishonesty, cowardice, betrayal, jealousy, and deceit. All of these keywords have plenty to do with the story as we know it so far, especially with Tae's character. Before we take a look at the masks, I just want to say I love these moments that show the ice frozen and cracking. This visual is very much like that wall between the known and unknown that is cracking between Tae and Jin. The cracking is also a visual used in the BTS Save Me webtoon to show when Jin must start over again. My favorite thing about this MV is the masks. They are symbolic and they are haunting. It's my belief that we witness Taehyung manipulating and being manipulated by them. It's almost like having two egos at war, and I think between other songs and Burn the Stage, we can understand what RM was getting at lyrically here. We all tend to lock ourselves away and build a wall even if it's minor. With things such as social media that we tap into, we often put on our public face versus our private face, our persona. Sometimes the lines blur and we get lost. Sometimes we willingly lose touch with ourselves. When you get stuck in worrying only about a certain presentation of yourself and don't let the true things you feel come out, it's often a setup for downfall. Recognize yourself beyond the persona you built up over the years. Love that person, not the persona. You might be wondering why I mentioned Daydream way at the beginning. I've seen a couple of memes that said Singularity is really just how much V misses J-Hope. It made me laugh because their music videos really do use the same color gradient in spots, but I want to check the color theory here as well. The keywords that come to mind when watching all the blue scenes are confidence, water, cold, and depression. I find that Tae showcases a lot of confidence in the music video while simultaneously stepping out of the light into this cold and encompassing blue. Later, the blue will fade into a purple and violet. Purple and violet are often erotic. The color can signal transformation, arrogance, and intimacy. I included a shot from Daydream with the same color scheme going on. This is just to throw out there that, hey, maybe they just really like this aesthetic. These colors do just plainly fit well together. BTS has reused many things like this in their MVs before, and sometimes the director just has a style that he likes. In J-Hope's case, his gradient in his MV is more about tranquility, confidence, playfulness, transformation, and spirituality. For the sake of teasing any theorists watching, I just want you to know that the only time we get a gradient like this in J-Hope's music video is when he's sitting on the bed with who other playing his sleeping self? That's right, Taehyung. It's a conspiracy, I'm telling you now. Alright, let's get back to the masks. The dance with the masks just reads as the manipulator becoming the manipulated to me. The longer you hide, the harder it is to find your real self. If you don't manage to get in touch with your real self, how can you properly love yourself? The fake versions start to control your world. Tae is almost like a puppet in this scene, tilting with the masks. If you pay attention to the choreography throughout the video, Taehyung and the dancers consistently move between calculated, jerky movements, as if being pulled by strings, and flowing smoothness. I thought that was interesting considering that Singularity was followed by Fake Love. In a later shot, we are kind of in the middle of what seems to be a frozen lake. I don't think it's a mistake that when some of the viewers watched it, they thought it was Jin at first. Jin and Tae are certainly intertwined, and since we talked about other colors, I'll let you know what white usually is a signal of. Protection, purity, and in Eastern cultures, death. Is this the pure self that Taehyung has buried deep inside, waiting for the ice to crack? I'm going to start talking about the other MVs I mentioned here. Taehyung is in a room surrounded by flowers that are growing on the walls. We've seen this many times as it was a huge visual in the Japanese version of I Need You. It's no secret that flowers are a common symbol for spring. There's even a direct reference to spring in the lyrics. There's also a searchlight effect that was quite popular introduced in some of the scenes. They use this same searchlight technique in a lot of their stage videos for end-of-year performances, specifically over RM. They're searching for the truth. And if we're speaking of truth, I want to point out this frame with the Smeraldo-styled flowers being lit on fire. Flowers have been set on fire many times in BTS MVs, and all flowers have meaning as well. The Smeraldo flower does not exist naturally. This is just a flower that is painted blue, and its meaning is the truth I couldn't tell. This flower is also considered to be a symbol for Jin. We see Tae dancing with it later and covering his mouth with the Smeraldo flower. With spring, ice begins to melt and nature begins to grow. As it is, you can see yourself more clearly in still water than most frozen ice. Water also flows with the ability to adapt and change. Ice is stuck in a single moment in time. We've seen Tae and other members in water many times. It's a common symbol of transformation and purity. Taehyung is in a similar scene in the Japanese version of I Need You. In Singularity, he is staring down at the water. The room has newspapers all over the walls and windows. Usually this type of imagery brings the word obsession to mind. There is something that he's trying to understand or be sure of. There's also a glitching TV in the room, and I think we all remember freaking out about glitches last year. When Tae runs his hand through the water, it took me back to J-Hope's fountain scene in Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I remember reading in a couple places that there's actually references to paintings of Narcissus here, but I don't know too much about it. Outside of the BTS universe, there are a few scholars who have gone in depth of Narcissus and Dionysus in mythology and tried to relate the two, but I don't know enough about it to kind of signify its use in our storyline with BTS. If anyone out there knows more, please comment below. The video ends with a black tear coming from the mask V decided to wear. We've also seen this type of visual in Blood, Sweat, and Tears, as well as Jungkook's Wings video. What things come to mind when you're watching Singularity? Please put your comments down below and we can talk about it. I hope anyone watching is enjoying these and that they send you thinking or looking up other potential clues. Hey everybody, if you like what I do on this channel, please like, please comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we will just keep on doing what we're doing, and I will see you next time. Has to run